everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Tech Impact. This will be our first show. Let's do some introductions. How are you doing? What's your name? Who are you?
Good morning. My name is Jean-Luc Harms. I am 21 years old, currently a student at the University of Aruba studying social work and development, but I've always had an interest in technology, games, and everything related.
Cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Bruce Harms. I'm also interested in technology. My background comes from multimedia engineering, which means I've been in the creative field for a very long time. I'm also a teacher, guest teacher at the Chamber of Commerce regarding digital marketing, and a recent adopter of Cardano, as you can see on my shirt. And we've decided to make a show about technology that impacts our lives, and that's why we're calling it Tech Impact. And today in our show, we'll be portioning it in three parts. We'll be talking about blockchain, because we feel that's an important technology in Web 3.0, as they like to call it.
Yeah.
We'll be also talking about some retro gaming, because I feel that that's something fun. And as father and son, we enjoy gaming together. And we're going to get to that later in the show and talk about some computer technology as well. So let's talk a little bit about blockchain, Jean-Luc. Why did you and me end up into Cardano? And what is Cardano?
Let's start with how this all started, this interest.
Sure, let's hear it. Let's tell our viewers, sorry.
So I think for most listeners are familiar with the name Bitcoin.
Right,
the most famous and most mainstream cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And for many years, I've been watching and keeping track of it. And one day I decided, you know what? I recently got a amazing graphics card, a RTX 2080 Ti. And I knew that you needed good graphics card in order to try to participate in getting cryptocurrencies.
Right.
And it's called mining, how you mine cryptos. And so I started to, that's how the rabbit hole started.
The rabbit hole.
To figure out.
So let me ask you a question. So after some research, we know what mining is now. They call that, proof of work.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? Does it mean that the computer is, when it's mining, it's just using a lot of power?
So basically, the graphics card is also a computer, right? And
yeah,
what it does is it, simply put, it does a lot of calculations in order to prove that a certain transaction is real and confirmed on the blockchain.
So that's what they mean when you create a block.
No, actually.
Okay, enlighten me.
It's the reason why it is called a blockchain is because it's every time a person mines a block, they are actually keeping track and recording a history of the transactions that are being made real time. And what they are doing is to confirm that these transactions are real. They will try to solve a computational problem, and once they get to a certain answer, that is the proof of work. And it takes a lot of energy, and the more people who are working on it, the more difficult it gets for the graphics card.
And that's how they create sort of a cap on how much can be made,
Yes.
And that's important for the scarcity of the token, as they like to call it. So Jean-Luc, I'm taking a look now at Wikipedia, and I see here a description of blockchain, which says, a blockchain is a growing list of records called blocks that are linked together using cryptography, right? So that's why they call it a cryptocurrency. So there's cryptography involved for security reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and so the listeners know, my son walked in one day very excited because you closed a block using your graphics card, right?
Yes.
And what does that mean? So you closed the block and you got paid out in a certain token. Can you tell us a little bit how much of value that was?
So I have, at that time, I was already mining another cryptocurrency called Ethereum.
Ethereum, right?
Yes,
We've heard of
yes.
that, right?
And Ethereum is the second most famous cryptocurrency. And I was pool mining. So instead of trying to mine a block alone, which
Right.
is solo mining, I was sharing my computational power
With others,
with other people. Yeah, so we make a pool.
right?
But I learned about another cryptocurrency that was called Raven, which was another cryptocurrency that was based on Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
And I tried to solo mine it because there wasn't a lot of competition. It was barely used.
Yeah.
And I managed, at that time, I managed to be rewarded around 4,000 Raven coins.
4,000. Now, is that 4,000 cents or $4,000? What does that mean?
At each currency has a different value.
Right? And
And,
this value changes daily, right?
Yes, this value changes by the minute. Actually, it's very volatile. But at that time, it was worth around $1,000 within
Wow.
the cryptocurrency.
And then we started looking a little more in depth into, the cryptocurrency space.
Hmm.
And then we stumbled on Cardano, right? And
Yeah.
and we learned something about what blockchain is doing, and then we learned about third generation. So let's get back a little bit to Ethereum. So the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So Bitcoin is the first experiment.
Yeah.
It was invented or deployed and invented by a pseudo, right? A pseudonym, an anonymous person,
By some guy on the internet called
guy on the internet.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Nakamoto,
Yeah.
right? And he started with this experiment where communities can use their computers to create tokens,
Yeah.
in short. And then Ethereum came out, and Ethereum had something called smart contracts. And today, let's keep it nice and simple because we're learning as we go, and that's what we wanna do with the show, guys. Tech Impact is going to be a place where we want to talk about current news, current technologies, and we're gonna save Ethereum for the next show, I think. But what's important to understand is that Ethereum has another layer of utilities, which means you can use blockchain to solve other problems.
Yeah.
And we think it's important for our island and our Caribbean community even to see what that really means. And we saw yesterday, for example, that Cardano signed a contract in Africa. And if I'm going to pull up the information for 1 second. I saw that they signed with the governor of education in Africa, where they're going to deploy digital ideas and use the ecosystem to track their grades and
Wow.
maybe even do transactions. And I think it's very interesting news, and we should, as a Caribbean geographical locations, we're gonna have similar issues. We're different than Africa because I feel that, for example, on Aruba, we're
Technologically.
thank you, advanced, and most people have access to great internet and great computing power and devices,
The
So-
gaming community disagrees.
They do, don't they?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, guys. So let's finish up this segment of Blockchain 101, I guess. And I wanted you to get out that story about mining, and we've got more coming up. I wanted to segue a little bit into computers themselves, right? So, what are you using now at home? What's your setup?
I used to be somebody who would only use pre-built computers, mostly laptops back in the day.
Right.
But as I got more into gaming, mainly PC gaming, I realized in order to have the best experience, I wanted to create my own desktop, to build my own PC.
Right.
And after a bit of researching, most of the time people agreed that parts separately and creating it would be cheaper and better than buying it pre-built by some more popular brands.
And I'm assuming you want to learn a little bit about putting things together,
Of
how
course.
things work,
Of
you know,
course.
understand the architecture.
To have an understanding of the computers on a hardware level is very handy because
Right.
then you're the person in the family where they ask you for technical help.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
The printer doesn't work, Jean-Luc.
Luckily, I have you to take care of that instead of me.
No, that's okay, that's okay. So, continue. Tell us a little bit about your system.
So basically, for the most part, a computer is a motherboard.
Right,
It has a graphics card.
right,
It has a CPU, which is usually the brains, and then you have your hard drive where the information is stored. And I have a AMD brand CPU, AMD Ryzen 2700X.
nice.
Not the latest.
Sounds fast.
It is really fast. Yeah, yeah. I have just an Aorus motherboard.
Okay,
I have 32 gigabytes of RAM
right.
and as previously mentioned, a RTX 2080 Ti.
But you know, these graphics cards, right? So
Tell me.
I'm an Apple user myself. I sort of trust Apple to give me the the power I need to, you know, do my designing and do some light editing and for now it's been working well. But I'm assuming for PC gaming, frame rate is very important, right? So
Yes, yes.
that's very important for reaction time, for performance, doing well in a match, I guess.
Yeah.
What does a RTX 280 cost? What's the value of a card like that? What are we talking about here? Is it a $500 card or $200?
Usually it would go for when it was released, it went for around $800.
Wow.
But due to the craze behind Bitcoin mining and how much processing power it took,
Right.
the demand increased by a huge amount, and the prices skyrocketed by the resellers.
So it's sold out, you know,
Sold
at
out, yeah.
at retail, and then people were holding them and then reselling them for bigger profits.
Yes, yes.
So it's an interesting dynamic. What cryptocurrency is doing even to the gaming community, and,
Yeah.
and I think that's important to realize that technologies now that are deployed to do one thing can now do many other things. So
it intersects, yeah.
adjacent, right? That's a adjacent industries, and that's why we think it's important here at Tech Impact that blockchain and computer technologies are, you know, they're linked together, they're parallel.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see what's going to happen now with people your age, you know, how they approach consuming technology. So you bought the computer so you can game with it, but now you're also exploring, well, can I have some kind of passive income?
Yeah, yeah.
And just so you know, as the guy that pays the energy bills, I didn't really notice a big difference. We do have solar panels. Did you, when you mine, right, with the computer, do you need it to be always connected? Does it have to be running while you're sleeping, or can you, log it in and log it out? And are there negative effects for your mining activities?
So
Oh, and let me give you another layer.
tell me.
Can you play a game while you are mining? Is that something that is a problem, maybe?
Simply put, yes, you can game while you are mining.
Okay.
Essentially, there is just the software that I run. It's called a T-Rex miner.
T-Rex. Cool.
There are multiple softwares created by geniuses, frankly put, that automatically connects to the blockchain and allows your graphics card to do the calculations and connect. And all you have to put in is your wallet address, which is
Okay.
where your cryptocurrencies are stored,
Right.
and you just let it run. But it does require an internet connection, and you always have to be connected. But you can willingly turn it on and off.
Right.
But just like a CPU, if you are using multiple softwares at the same time that uses the CPU, it would change how fast it does the different programs, right?
Right.
The same goes for when you're mining. For the most part, it will try to use a major part of your graphics card. And if you try to game while mining, it will of course average out, and you will not mine as efficiently as when you are not gaming or using this graphics card at all. So what I like to do is I like to usually leave it on while mining, while I sleep, or when I'm not at home or not using the computer at all. That's where it mines the best.
Cool, cool. Well, so let's give people some advice. So in the end, you use something called T-Rex,
Yeah.
and you use your very let's call it very expensive graphics card.
Mhm.
Can you use a less expensive graphics card? Maybe one of the older models that you can get for a good price.
To mine, pretty much you can mine cryptocurrencies with more cheaper, less expensive cards.
Okay.
A very famous one is a 1050 Ti.
Yeah, I have that. We have a box at home. So maybe next week we might think about a giveaway. So I wanted to do a shout out to the community of Aruba. If you are a cryptocurrency holder, let us know, because we are starting a meetup group. We have a meetup group once a month. We are Cardano based, so if you are a Cardano holder, please send us an email at techimpactaruba@gmail. We'll be putting that in the description of the show later on. So yeah, drop us a message and let us know if you're a holder, because we're interested in learning more about the community. Because when I talk to people, I'm pleasantly surprised to find out that they are already cryptocurrency holders, and I think it's important to learn about blockchain by just participating. So, is there a wallet that we can recommend, Jean-Luc?
Simply put, there are many wallets,
Yeah.
and I would usually recommend them based on your needs, right?
Right.
And for Cardano, I would personally recommend their official wallet called Daedalus.
Yeah.
But if you are somebody who likes to hold multiple wallets, I think the one that you use would be the better one. But
Exodus.
yes.
Yeah. So there you go, listeners. I think we got a great recommendation from Jean-Luc. So if you want to hold Cardano, please go to their official wallets, which is Yoroi and Daedalus. An interesting fact about the Daedalus wallet, it's also a node. So people understand your wallet will be part of the infrastructure all over the world, and it actually helps the utility aspect of the Cardano ecosystem. But if you want to get started, something pretty simple that looks good, it's going to be Exodus.
Yeah.
Exodus is a multi-token wallet, and I know a couple of friends. I'm going to send a shout out to my friend George. He surprised me with lots of different tokens, and it's an exciting space. But we're interested in what it can do for the community, and we do not recommend to try to get rich with cryptocurrencies. Just try and learn about it. That's my official recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So speaking of computers, and I kind of want to show the community something. I'm very excited about, and I'm going to put it to the camera. This is a Raspberry Pi. And what's interesting about this little tiny computer, we're going to use it to make a server. And there is the whole computer. It's got a motherboard, it's got a CPU, it's got Bluetooth,
Wow.
it's got Wi-Fi, it's got Ethernet, USB 3, and I'm gonna be creating a Nintendo console on this little computer. And we will be doing a workshop in July. Yeah, my producer is telling me what to do. And here it is, people. This is a very cool little product. And we intend to learn more about computers using the Raspberry Pi.
So that tiny box is the entire computer.
This tiny box is the entire computer.
But does it come with a screen or?
It does not come with a screen, but I bought something. It's a kit, and in this particular case, it came with a casing and a fan, excuse me, and it also has, as you can see, heat sinks, so we can overclock it, which is going to be interesting. And we've already installed, I think it's called Recal Box, and we've installed about 4,000 games. So on the next show, we'll be doing a little tournament.
But what type of games?
Retro games, of course, retro games. So it's nostalgia for me. I grew up with the Nintendo, the NES, one of the best-selling consoles in history. Also the longest running, so it had almost a decade of games being played. And Super Nintendo is one of my favorite consoles of all time. This is where gaming went to the next level. So let's talk a little bit. Do you like retro games, and what's your favorite retro game? And you can be safe on this one.
My favorite retro game must be Super Mario Bros. 3.
3.
Yeah.
Iconic. Anybody out there, let us know if you're still playing this game. If you have a Nintendo Switch, maybe, and we do at home. So I do play classic games. What is about Mario? What was Super Mario 3? What was about it? What was different about it?
Mainly the most memorable must be how it looked like.
Right.
The pixel art, the backgrounds, the animations, even to this day holds up.
It's aged really well.
Yeah.
And I think it is the premium of games. So, excuse me. So I pulled up the information. So Super Mario 3 was released in 1988.
Wow.
So we're talking about, what is it? We're almost in 22. So 38 years ago, by the Nintendo Entertainment System, led by the famous Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto. Yeah, well, you say Miyamoto because he's iconic. He's the creator of most of Nintendo's main brands, main games. What other games has he done? Let's check.
I wouldn't know. I haven't actually
let's
researched.
Let's take a look. Yeah, so he's done Donkey Kong, Legend of Zelda probably. Yes. So he is one of the big boys at the Nintendo firm. And let's get back to Super Mario 3. I remember when I was a kid, there was this movie with Mr. Savage. It was called The Wizard, where it would seem to be a special child, so probably an autist, that was a great gamer. And in America, they used the film, and then the final scene of the film, there's a Nintendo World Series where they introduced the game for the first time. So Super Mario 3.
A competition.
A competition. I just remember when I saw that movie, I looked at my mom and like, Mom, we have to go get this game now, because we grew up on Super Mario 1 with Duck Hunt, and then we went on to Super Mario 2, which was a strange game because later on we would find out that it wasn't a Mario game. It was actually a different game. And then they reskinned it into Mario characters. And Mario 3. And what makes Mario 3 famous, pretty much, right? It's the tail.
Yeah.
The little tail.
What was it called? Tanuki tail?
Well, I think so. It was called the Tanuki tail, but it also had two versions. It had the Tanuki suit as well, where he can turn into a little statue. But yeah, I remember playing that game, and what was really cool that in the movie they gave us an Easter egg. In the movie, they gave us the whistle, and you get the whistle, and then the cloud takes you over, and then you can skip levels.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, that's all you wanted to do. You wanted to skip all the levels and get to that final Bowser level, and then it became way too hard for me. So, is there anybody out there that also enjoys the Super Mario game? Please send us a comment, send us an email, and stay tuned for more information on a little tournament we'll be doing on the next show. We'll even challenge our producer here, Jeff. Jeff. Hey, Jeff, did you like Street Fighter?
Yeah.
You remember that game? Yeah.
Sure they do.
Yeah, so let's move a little bit to the Super Nintendo console. Do you have any Super Nintendo titles you like?
It must be Super Mario World. Actually.
Super Mario World. Yeah, I wasn't that into that game.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't like the reaction time, so it had this little delay when you click on the jump button. It would, there was a little delay that I just couldn't get used to.
I don't know. I just really loved the music and the new mechanics they added with Yoshi.
Right.
If I'm correct, it must be one of the first games where you can ride Yoshi.
Yoshi. Just for those that are listening that don't know who Yoshi is the iconic, all you can eat dinosaur that is sort of a pal of Mario in the Mario verse, I guess.
The green dinosaur.
The green dinosaur. You know, I remember in those days a movie came out, the Super Mario movie, and it was absolutely horrible. Do you remember that with I think it was Danny DeVito.
I
think
heard
Danny
of it.
DeVito, or yeah, I'm not even sure about that, but there was a horrible movie that came out, so that was pretty disappointing. So let's talk about some games that you and me have played, right? So we used to run Steam on my Mac OS. Do you remember a game called Axiom Verge?
Yes, very fondly.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Axiom Verge is considered a Metroidvania. Can you talk a little bit what that means, Metroidvania?
Metroidvania is a genre of games,
Right.
just like RPG, platformers, MMOs, the more popular ones, and Metroidvanias is basically the genre inspired by the classic retro games of Metroid and Castlevania.
So again, a whole gaming industry, has come a little bit from what Nintendo sort of put on the map.
Yeah.
At the home console. So Castlevania is a story of Simon, that is his enemy is the vampire Dracula. So in the game, the whole point is to challenge Dracula and finally defeat him.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting about Castlevania as a game, that it had multiple endings. So this was so that was sort of the attraction to it, that you got to decide which road you take to the final scene of the game. And Metroid was considered once upon a time one of the most difficult games in Nintendo, because it was sort of an open world,
Yeah.
but in a platforming sense. So it's 2D. It scrolls from screen to screen, a little bit like Zelda as well. Zelda was top down, and so you had to go figure it out.
But was there, if I remember correctly, there was no text?
There was-
Nobody telling
There
you
was
where to
text.
go?
There was text a
Oh.
little bit. So no, you're right. There was no text. So you had to explore this world and figure, sort of entering a cave and don't know where you're going to end up. And I think when they say Metroidvania, it is that open world exploratory.
Yeah.
It has to be 2D,
Mm-hmm.
and you can take different routes to different endings. So there's no chronological way of gameplay. And I think if you look at the development of gaming from the Atari days, you had usually this one playing field, right? So Pac-Man, for example, was just one screen, and then it just got harder and harder as you go, right?
Yep,
And
yep.
And Donkey Kong, for example, the screen was the same, but the configuration would change.
And we're talking about the original Donkey Kong.
Original Donkey Kong, right? So King of Kong, right? The documentary where it's one of the hardest games on the planet. But from Atari going to Nintendo, that's where Nintendo's innovation came. They created much more complex games on a
Yeah.
small system. And segueing back to Super Mario, the example that Super Mario taught the world is that within this system, artists and engineers can push the limits.
Yeah.
And that Mario is sort of a showcase. If you have a great pixel designer together with a great programmer that can dial in the dynamics, you have something very special there. So everybody, go out there and play these games. They still hold up.
Yeah.
And I think the more modern games of today are inspired by these amazing developments in entertainment, right?
Definitely.
So, definitely. So next week we're going to be showcasing what you can do with this little computer, and we'll be trying to achieve putting a Nintendo with 1,000 games on it, a Super Nintendo with 1,000 games on it, and
Wow.
hopefully I'll even put in a PlayStation, and it's going to be interesting to see the performance of this. So going back to your graphics card, right? One of those, I mean, how powerful is that compared to this little box?
I wouldn't necessarily know how powerful that is, but I would definitely say by multitudes more powerful.
Multitudes,
Yeah.
exponentially, right?
Exponentially.
Yeah, and I'm starting to think, like, is it important to always have power? So I'm very interested in seeing, is the future more power, or is the future great engineering and design and limited energy use? And I think that's what gaming, can kind of teach us. So that's what Nintendo did, and gave it such longevity.
Yeah.
Which the engineers created that. And I think it's important for us to move into a space where, instead of consuming computer technology like most of us do, I mean, I'm a victim myself, you're a victim, we buy the phone and we play the games.
Yeah.
But can we buy the box, the building block, and can we start doing great things with it? And this is where we want to go with the show, and we're going to even provide workshops in the future.
Nice.
So I kind of want to go through it with you and tell me what you think. So I'm here at the projects from the Raspberry Pi org, and I see here, for example, that we can create things like a Raspberry Pi laser tripwire.
Oh.
Yeah, so we could create, for fun, a checker for intruders,
Like James Bond.
Yeah,
some
exactly.
laser that you have to try to avoid.
Yeah, I see here, for example, we can do build your own weather station.
Weather station.
Weather station. Yeah, so let me click on it. Let's take a look. So we can actually create something that can check wind speeds and wind gusts, wind direction, rainfall, humidity and temperature, and air quality.
But will we need external devices to be able to measure that, or will it connect to databases for that?
Let's take a look. We're going to need a Raspberry Pi, and here we go. Here comes the interesting stuff. So we'll need a humidity sensor, which is called a BME280, and some resistors. So in other words, to keep it short, it's pretty technical. So maybe not something for us just yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
let's start with the gaming console, or maybe even a tripwire. But yeah, I think it's very interesting that, and another piece of information is that this is actually not a company, it's a foundation that makes it for education.
Wow.
So it's specifically designed for projects like that.
How much does one usually cost?
That's a great question. I forgot to even mention that. Yeah, so this one is the 8 gigabytes RAM model, which is the highest one.
Oh.
I think this is $65 or $55, if I'm not mistaken. And it only comes with the box. But I highly recommend to get the power supply, which is a USB power seat.
Uh-huh.
And if you're gonna do, more intense calculations, you need that power source to be consistent. So don't get one of those cheap, from the Chinese counter, or some kind of non-official USB brand that can actually damage it. But for running, for example, a Nintendo, you need very little. You can buy it for $35, the base one, which has 2 gigabytes.
Yeah.
And it actually uses an SD card. So let me show the audience. So right now, what's interesting, on this little tiny card, I dropped it. Sorry, guys. There it is.
Right there.
Right there.
There you go.
Yeah, so here we go. This little tiny thing holds everything.
That's a micro SD.
Yeah,
right?
I see that our camera can't really focus on it. It's a webcam. Bring it back. Yeah, my producer's telling me to bring it back. So what's really cool also, what I've done is I have 2 computers here, because I have, on the one hand, on the other chip, I have the Raspberry OS, which is Linux, Linux based. And here I have Recalbox, which runs the whole entertainment systems.
Wow.
Yeah. So with one computer, with 2 hard drives, I actually have 2 systems. Very interesting stuff. And by the way, I got to connect my good old Nintendo controller. So this will also accept, if you have a console at home, a PlayStation,
An
Xbox, a Nintendo Switch, you can use your controller to connect it to the Recalbox. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. So I asked you, is there any new pixel art platforming retro style game that you like?
How new are we talking? Because
Of this decade.
of this decade.
I guess 2017 and up, 2015 and up.
Because within this past decade, the indie game community became mainstream.
Right.
And with that, a lot of pixel art based games who take inspiration from the retro scene and try to modernize it with new mechanics or updated mechanics in order to give a much more intuitive gaming experience. Became
right.
popular.
Yeah.
One of my favorites must be Axiom Verge.
Yeah, that was a very good one.
Beautiful pixel art.
Beautiful.
The map design was great. I could explore areas, revisit old ones when I got new upgrades, and gain access to other parts, which is a key part of Castle Metroidvania genre.
Right.
But Hollow Knight, which you've also played, if I
Yes,
remember
yes,
correctly,
yes.
is also amazing.
I'm gonna give a shout out to a very good gamer friend of mine, Regito. You're gonna have to dial in on this one. Regito is a big fan of Hollow Knight as well, and what I love about Hollow Knight is the art. You can appreciate it for what it is. It's an amazing piece of gaming, and people need to appreciate that games are the highest apex form of art, because a lot of things converge together to create this experience. So you have to have amazing audio, amazing tracks that inspire you but don't tire you.
Yeah.
The artwork has to, it has to have a wow effect, because it cannot carry on game mechanics alone. And on top of it, it has great narratives.
Yeah.
So what I loved about Hollow Knight is that there's a very interesting story being told. And it's a story of a small man making a big difference.
Yes,
It's a little bit Lord of the Ring-ish,
Mhm,
little bit like Bilbo, a little bit like Mega Man. It's a small little robot that grows, and gets more powerful as you go on. It's a little bit like Zelda as well. That's that epic, you start at nothing, and then you end up with
somewhere.
experience and power, and so Hollow Knight is definitely a great one.
For clarification, Hollow Knight is not pixel art. It is hand drawn.
Hand drawn, yes.
Yeah.
Another great example of great art is Cuphead.
Oh yes.
Cuphead
Yes.
was done in a retro cartoon style, and very enjoyable. I know a bunch of people that play it. It's just really, really hard and very punishing. So the recommendation will be, if you like a little bit of punishment, Cuphead is a good place to go. I also wanted to give another one. We have Hyper Light Drifter,
Beautiful game.
which is a beautiful game. Pretty hard, and I do miss the fact that the storyline is without words. So it's a bit mysterious. I would have enjoyed a little more narrative.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hyper Light Drifter is a great pixel style art. And I'm kind of running through my games. I also have another one. And what I love about today, we grew up with a lot of male heroes, except for Metroid. Metroid, by the way, was a great surprise where it was a woman.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy Celeste.
Celeste.
Celeste is a story of a girl, and this is where that difference is. There's a lot of narrative because we have more computing power. So she has a story. So she has to climb this mountain, and you have to platform going up. And every time she meets people, and she is running from someone, and you're gonna learn in the game, she's probably running from herself. I haven't finished it, but I think Celeste is a great game. Great game. So, yeah. Well, Jean-Luc, I think we did this is our first show.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Expect more from us. Anything you want to say?
I look forward to continuing this podcast, and if there are any suggestions or comments, we would love to hear from you. If there's anything that you would like to ask us, please let us know at techimpactaruba@gmail.com.
Absolutely. Or at the comments below on the YouTube channel for Soppy Mix Studios, or the Facebook of Soppy Mix Studios. And so we're going to do more of this and hopefully upgrade and present more content. We're definitely going to experiment with Soppy Mix Studios and see if we can get some gaming happening here, or maybe showcasing some gameplay. But again, we want to achieve talking about from cryptocurrencies all the way to entertainment.
Yeah.
And we're especially interested in what this little computer can do. And we're going to be creating projects and sharing our projects with you. And stay tuned for in the summer. We want to have more of these around on Aruba and help kids become engineers or participants of a new ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna ask our producer to close this out. And thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.